89.1 The Point, WBSU Brockport.
Alrighty, my name is Elias Vega-Diaz here on behalf of 89.1 The Point, and I'm joined by incoming president for SUNY Brockport, Dr. Don Meza Soufleris. Dr. S, how are you doing today?
I am so great, Elia. Thank you for having me on. I'm very excited about this, and I'm getting super excited about getting to Brockport.
And no, thank you for coming on today. It's truly an honor to speak with you. So my first question is, obviously, you're a first-generation, three-time SUNY graduate that has become the president of a SUNY school, and that's a really big accomplishment. You worked at RIT for 25 years, and you raised your own children in the Rochester area, and it almost seems like you're destined for this job. How does it feel to not only become the president of a SUNY school, but also, be close to the area that you live in?
It is just a dream come true, and one of those things that does feel a little bit like fate. People have asked me, have I dreamed of being a university president? And, over time I've thought about it here or there, but I'm always sort of focused where my feet are. But when this opportunity came about, and a good friend of mine who was in Rochester said, you should really think about this because this is calling your name. I do think there's fate to it, right? The reason that I am where I am today is through the SUNY system. I would not have been able to go to college if the SUNY system had not existed. And so I have the trifecta of those degrees. And I also feel it was fate that I landed in Rochester for such a long period of time. And I absolutely loved it there. As you mentioned, I raised three of my children there. My husband actually worked at Brockport for 18 years. So Brockport's been sort of part of our family for a very long time. And so this opportunity is like full circle for me to come home. And I really consider that the Western New York, Rochester area home, to be able to lead a state institution, because I believe so strongly in state education. I mean, I am literally public educated from, I say K through PhD. And so to be able to be that first gen, I call myself, kid from Queens and Long Island, be able to now lead a university is just incredible. It's an honor. I'm excited. I hope I can be a role model for others who wonder, can first gens and SUNY grads do anything they want to do? And my answer is yes, they can.
Now, obviously, you touched on kind of where you came from, your roots, being from Queens. How did your upbringing affect who you became today?
So as you can imagine, I was in a household. I am Mexican, Puerto Rican, and Irish. So imagine that combination. My family was quite loud and very fun. But my parents, didn't go to college. My dad got a GED. He actually ran away from home at one point and tried to join the Marines at 16, and they kind of brought him back home and made him go back to school. But he left high school early to go in the Marines. My mom was a hairdresser. And so they knew, particularly my mom, knew that having a college education would make a difference for me, and that she wanted to see me. And my dad did too, but he was just of a different lot. My father worked for 47 years on the Long Island Railroad and thought I could just graduate high school and go work on the railroad with him. But my mom really was the one that pushed. And what I learned, my mom died right when I got married. And what I learned after her death was that she got accepted to St. John's University when she was 18. Her father wouldn't let her go. He said women didn't need that kind of education. And so after she passed away, I found the acceptance letter in her things. And so it was really clear to me why my mom had really pushed me my whole life, saying education is the way to go. My dad was super proud too, but my mom was really one of the contributing factors that made me want to go to college and make her proud.
And now I know you just mentioned how your mother and that decision that she never really got to make was kind of the catalyst into you becoming, choosing to pursue higher education. Was there another specific moment other than that that really kind of spoke to you and, almost made you kind of want to realize like, hey, I want to go ahead and I want to be in an institution, excuse me, and, work in that environment?
So, I would call myself the typical first generation student, and I went to college in the 80s and a long time ago, long before you were born, but nonetheless, in the 80s. And, nobody talked about being first gen. Nobody talked about what it was like to not have parents that had gone to college. So I went to Binghamton University, which was just, I loved every minute of it. I even stayed there for a second degree. But when I went, I had no guidance. So I started off as a theater major, and that didn't work out so well for me. I was a theater major for about a year, and then believe it or not, I had seven majors, not all at the same time, but went from major to major to major because I wasn't sure what I wanted to be. And my parents were great. I would call them and say, "Hey, I'm an economics major," and they would say, "Yay!" And then I would take an economics class, and I would hate it. And I call them and say, I'm not going to do that. So I went through a number of majors and finally landed as a history major because I had the most credits that I had taken on campus as a history major. But I worked in a number of jobs on campus, including residence life. I was an RA. I worked in orientation. I was an orientation leader. I was a Greek. I was in Greek leadership. I was on the advisory board for my college. And so while I was in residence life, I had this wonderful person that I worked for. His name was Philip Clay. And he was a professional staff member there. And he pulled me to the side when I was a junior, the end of my junior year, and says, "What do you want to do in your life?" And I said, I don't know. I might teach. I thought of being a police officer at one point. My mother cried so hard that I was going to die in the line of duty. So I decided I didn't put my mother through that. So I decided not to be a police officer. So I said, I don't know. And he said, "What do you love?" And I said, "I love being in college. I love everything about campus. I love everything that I'm getting to do as a student at Binghamton." And he said to me, "There's this field called Student Affairs and Higher Education Administration that I want you to think about. You need to get a master's, but you could do that by getting a graduate assistantship that would pay for you to go to school and you'd work. But I want you to think about that." And that was the pivotal moment for me that somebody tapped me on the shoulder and said, "I want you to think about this because you'd be really good at it." And I never turned back.
And I feel like a lot of students can kind of relate, especially I know I can because I've changed my major more than once. And, to hear that, someone's changed their major more than a couple of times, especially as the incoming president, I bet that kind of relaxes a lot of people's, nerves of, what am I doing in life, right? I think that really does resonate with the students. And I think what kind of, is going to calm students a little bit more is that you actually found a career coming off of Montclair State University as the vice president of student affairs in that line of work and campus life. What are some things that you learned during your time at Montclair State? That you're like different experiences, things that you've learned that you're bringing here to Brockport.
So getting to Montclair State was again, I think also was some fate. I had was serving during COVID as the vice president of student affairs and enrollment management at LaSalle University in Philadelphia, and I loved it and it was great. But it was COVID. It was COVID was a very hard time for college universities to manage. And but it was private education, and I had worked at a number of private institutions, and I had said aloud a number of times that I really wanted to get back to working in state public education because those were my roots. And so again, a good friend of mine called me and said, the position at Montclair State University in Jersey is open. You should think about it. And I looked it up and I had heard of it. I had passed it. My mother was a Jersey girl, so I had been in New Jersey, a number of times. And what I loved was, number one, it was a state institution. Number two, it was a minority serving institution and a Hispanic serving institution, which I have never had the opportunity to work at. And being Latina, I thought, and a first generation student, I thought, oh my gosh, I could go there and I could really give back right? And really be in an environment of students who I hope will resonate with my story, that I too was where they were at some point. And so I applied and got the job. And I will tell you, it has been a joyous experience here. 24,000 students, that's a lot of students. But being at an institution that was all about career advancement, all about helping students be on a trajectory to potentially do better economically than their families are doing, helping first generation students figure out what they want to be. It has been just tremendous, and I've loved every minute of it. It was a warm and wonderful environment. So many Black and brown students that are just like the salt of the earth. Got to work with a brand new president coming in the door, and so I've learned a ton from him. So I feel like it has given me the experiences, being back in public education, being back working with first generation students, to be ready for a job like Brockport. And so I have much love for Montclair State. Appreciate everything I learned here. Will bring some of it with me, but also am embracing the incredible things that Brockport has done over the past decade that are just remarkable, even during difficult times in higher education. So, but I'm very proud of my time here. They're all rooting for me, which is really awesome. I'm really appreciative of that, but can't wait to get there. And to be honest, the size population at Brockport for me is perfect. 24,000 students, a lot of students. And I get to know a number of students here, but it's hard because there's so many students. I'm really excited about getting back to a campus that's a little bit smaller, is bustling, and there's a lot happening. So not too small, but with a really great campus life. And I feel like the Brockport size population is perfect. It's perfect for me and what I want to do.
Now, obviously, you're emphasizing a lot of things about student life. What's your
Mhm.
philosophy coming in to Brockport in this new role about what you want to see out of, what's coming, when the new semester starts, of course, during your tenure? What do you want to see out of, what's going to come during your tenure?
So, here's the great things about Brockport is it's got incredible momentum, right? There are wonderful things happening in the classroom. The academic rigor is outstanding. There are some really I call differentiators in terms of some programs, and including nursing and sports management and business. And I mean, I could go a laundry list of these great programs that Brockport is really known for. And really solid student life. Like I think students really truly enjoy being at Brockport. I've talked to some of them when I was there on campus for an interview this summer, and career readiness. And I think that's such a key piece, particularly for students of this generation, that you want to be able to do two things: either go to graduate school because you want to, advance your degree, or you want to go in the workforce, right? It's really important in these days to be able to go right into the workforce. So I want to keep us on a positive momentum because higher education is a tough spot right now. We know that there are enrollment declines for traditional age students. We know that there are some federal regulations that are really making it difficult for college and universities across the country. So here's my hope. My hope is that I can continue that trajectory forward for Brockport. I think it's going to be super important for our campus to have things that differentiate us from other campuses. Being there are a lot of colleges and universities in the Western New York area. When you think about what's in Syracuse and Rochester and Buffalo, right? There's a lot of college and universities. We've got to make sure that people know the special pieces of what Brockport's all about, that employers know that you hire a Brockport student, you are getting an A number one employee, that you're going to get somebody that is ready for career, that is ready to lead, that is really ready to take on the world. And I want students to feel like they belong. And so I do want to spend time making sure our students truly feel like they belong, that they're connected, and they matter while they're students.
Now, obviously, you're joining here in Brockport, and Brockport's not a place that's shy to break, barriers and ceilings. Obviously, with our previous president, our first female president, Dr. Heidi McPherson, you follow her suit as the second ever female president and the first ever Latina female president. I know. Yep.
Yeah, I'm proud of
Um,
that. Thank you.
which is a great example of how Brockport values diversity, equity, inclusion in our mission statement. But more importantly, it's a light to the students as well. Of course, students of color, students of different backgrounds, and walks of life. What's your message to them as they see, of course, people in this institution, rising up from different backgrounds? What's your message to them as they look to, maybe not exactly work or follow your footsteps, but in their own career paths and what they want to do?
That's a great question. I'll tell you, I want every single student, regardless of whether they're first generation or second generation, regardless of what their socioeconomic background is, their race, their ethnicity, who they love. I want every single student at Brockport to know they matter, that they belong at Brockport. I don't want any students to feel like I don't belong here, I shouldn't have a seat at the table, or I shouldn't have a voice in a classroom. I want every single student to know that they belong in higher education, they belong in college, they belong at Brockport, and that we are here to support them, to give them a fabulous education, to catch them when they fall, to help them figure things out and know the resources, and give them all of the skills and experiences that are going to put them on this great trajectory so that they can get the jobs that they want. They can go into graduate school if they want to, they can go to professional school if they want to, and they can be successful. So I don't want any students to think that they don't belong in the environment. And so I can't tell you how important I think diversity, equity, and inclusion is. I think that we live in a state in New York where that continues to be valued, and everyone is welcome. Everyone is welcome at the table. Everyone is welcome in the classroom. Everybody's welcome at events and to be part of our community. That's my goal for all of our students. And I hope that students, they had the opportunity to experience President McPherson, who was, first woman. Now they're going to have a woman who's also Latinx. I mean, I hope that I can help role model for students that if you put your mind to it, you can do anything that you want. And I think Brockport's got all of the pieces that fall into place for students to be successful.
Well, I'm going to throw you a curveball here just to kind of change things up.
Okay.
I know you're a longtime Bills fan, as
Go
you're from
Bills.
the area.
Go Bills. Yes.
What colors do you think rock better? The blue or red or the green and gold?
So, I'm going to tell you something. I'll be wearing a lot of green and gold. Already expanding my wardrobe. And green, even today I have green on. See, I even wore green for this interview. So I'm trying to make sure I'm repping. And I happen to love the color green, so that is great. So that makes it even better. But you'll be seeing me in a lot of spirit wear, a lot of green and gold. On days of Bills games, I'm gonna tell you, I'll be in my Bills garb. I mean, so when you're Bills Mafia, like my family is, and, really strong long-term supporters, we have lots of traditions and lots of superstitions that you have to wear certain things. And if they win, you got to wear that again. So there are some times that I'll have pictures wearing the same outfit. I promise you I do the laundry, so they're clean. But we wear some things that if there's been good luck, we wear it again. So I'll be wearing probably green and gold more often than I'll be wearing Bills garb, but on game days, I'll be in the Bills colors. Go Bills.
I think we'll have to talk to the athletic department to see if we could get you a hookup on a jersey or something like that.
I'm ready to go. So I'm a huge sports enthusiast. I will go to, I love all sports. I played sports in college. I was a soccer player. I run in marathon. I love sports. My husband, Jim, who'll be around a lot. He also loves sports. And so you'll see us at a lot of the athletic events as well as just other campus events. And we will be rocking our green and gold and to all of that. So just be prepared.
That sounds wonderful. Okay, final question. And this is just your final message, before obviously as the semester is just around the corner. What is your final kind of, I'm here now. And, I'm here to, talk to you guys here, to the students. What's your message to them and what they can expect, not just this upcoming semester, but for your tenure overall?
So what I want them to know is that I will be very visible and very approachable. So if a student sees me, I want them to come up and introduce themselves, say, "Hi, Dr. S, I'm so and so," because I want to get to know the students here. I want to be a very visible president for the students. I truly believe that a president has to be able to tell the stories of the students, of how the institution is impacting them, so that others know the value of Brockport. So I want students to know that I will be very visible. I will be at their events, that I'm, again, a very approachable. I hope they will come and talk with me. I want them to know that there will be very few conversations that I will be in that won't have the word student or students as part of the conversation. There are very few things that I can think of when we talk about running an institution that the word student shouldn't be a huge piece of that. The impact on students, how do we help students be successful? How do we make sure they're well and have, positive well-being? How do we make sure they have all the essential needs that will help them be successful? How are they engaging in the classroom? How are faculty challenging our students? Everything has to be about all of you. You are our life and blood, and we need to be focused upon that. So I want students to know that that will be my number one priority, is their experience, because I want them to love Brockport and be someday proud alums to come back and say, "You know what? I went to Brockport and I loved every minute of it." And I will tell you that since I was appointed president, I can't even count the number of alum who have reached out to me, who have talked about their pride of being a Golden Eagle, shared stories with me already about what it was like to be a student and how much they loved it. And I just want to continue that. But I'm excited. I'm excited to see the students. All administrators love a summer because it gives us a little moment to like breathe and prepare and all of that. But we get to about July or so, and then we're missing you all very much. So while it'll be nice to get to Brockport and move in and get my office set and my house set and all of that, I get to a point I'm like, come on, you got to come back. We got to see you because you all bring the life to campus. So I will be so excited, and I'm going to be out and about on move-in day and helping people move boxes and dancing with Ellsworth or whatever happens on move-in day in Brockport. I'll be ready to go, and I just can't wait to meet all the students, and I hope they're excited to meet me.
Well, Dr. S, again, I thank you so much for your time and giving us your first interview here. We can't wait for what's to come of your tenure.